and 56. So I'm going to read 55 first, and then we read 56 together. Pratyakyatyo virinchena Vishnu patapita Durvasha sharanam jata Sarvam kailashabashinam. Translation: when Durvasa, who was greatly afflicted by the blazing fire of the Sudarshan Chakra, was thus refused by Lord Brahma, he tried to take shelter of Lord Shiva, who always resides on his planet known as Kailash. Test number 56. Shri Shankara Uvacha Bhajanna Tata Prabhavama Bhumi Bhajanna Tata Prabhavama Bhumi Jasmin Parenye Pyaja Jiva Kosha Jasmin Parenye Pyaja Jiva Kosha Bhavanti Kale Navabanti Hridrishaha Bhavanti Kale Navabanti Hridrisha Sahasraso Jatra Vajam Brahmanaha Sahasraso Jatra Vajam Brahmanaha Bhajannatata Prabhabhama Bhumi Jasmin Parenje Pyajah Jiva Koshaha Bhavanti Kale Navabanti Hridisha Sahasro Jatra Vajam Brahmanaha Bhajannatata Prabhavama Bhumni Jasmin Parenje Pyaja Ijiva Kosha Bhavanti Kale Navabanti Hridrisa Sahasrasho Jatra Vajam Brahmanaha. Please chant. Shri Shankara Uvacha. Lord Shiva said, Vayam, we, na, not, tata, oh my dear son, prabhavamaha, sufficiently able, bhumni, unto the great Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jasmin, in whom, pare, in the transcendence, anye, others, api, even, aja, Lord Brahma, jiva, living entities, koshaha, the universes, bhavanti, can become, kale, in the course of time, na, not, bhavanti, can become, he, indeed, idrishaha, like this, sahasrasaha, many thousands and millions, yatra, wherein, vayam, all of us, brahmamaha, are rotating. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Shiva said, my dear son, I, Lord Brahma, and the other demigods who rotate within this universe under the misconception of our greatness, cannot exhibit any power to compete with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For innumerable universes and their inhabitants come into existence and are annihilated by the simple direction of the Lord. Purport. There are innumerable universes in the material world, and there are innumerable Lord Brahmas, Lord Shivas, and other demigods. All of them rotate within this material world under the supreme direction of the Personality of Godhead. Therefore, no one is able to compete with the strength of the Lord. Lord Shiva also refused to protect Durvasha, for Lord Shiva also was under the rays of the Sudarshan Chakra sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Charakaya Chaksur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami iti namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Durvasa Muni is becoming aware by force of who's the boss, basically, who is the supreme controller. And one thing that we can understand for this is we hear in the beginning of this narration that Durvasa Muni was meditating on the Brahman effulgence, isn't it? You were pointed out that his conception of the Absolute was not complete, was not perfect. And therefore, when he's looking for shelter, he's looking to be protected, he's come to discover that who is that supreme shelter. So he is basically by ordeal becoming trained and educated in where is the perfect shelter, where is the supreme parandhama, the supreme shelter. And which again is the difference between Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish has perfect understanding of who is the supreme protector, who is the supreme shelter. So it becomes clear Durvasa Muni's position, and it's going to become more clear because he is going from one shock to another shock. Basically, and this is such an important lesson for aspiring devotees, because as Durvasa Muni, most of us don't fully understand what is the supreme shelter. We too, at times when a very perplexed situation comes forward towards us, a situation that is very challenging in terms of, our well-being and our, balance or settles feeling. When those situations come towards ourselves that completely disrupt our reality, in general, we try to take shelter of so many things, but to have that supreme shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general, we try to maintain different shelters. Something similar to happen to Arjuna. When Arjuna was confronted with the reality of having to fight, these very dear personalities to him, the circumstance when he have faced with the reality and faced with that reality, which was basically the reality that everything that was dear and known to him to have, to be it was like a shelter. Everything that was known to him as a shelter was going to be destroyed. When he came to face that reality, then he was perplexed. To the point that he completely lost control of himself. He was not able to function as a powerful warrior that he was, the most, arguably the most feared warrior that was there in earth, arguably. So he was not able, he lost himself because he was faced with this circumstance that all his shelters were going to be dismantled. The person who was his biggest shelter was, as a child, as a family, in his family was his grandfather Bhishma. The person who was a shelter as a child who was learning was Dronacharya, and he had to kill. And then he saw, all these different family members who were loving and supportive, who gave him shelter too. That all have to be destroyed. So, what do we do? Well, we try to find so many ways of saving those shelters or taking shelter. We find so many ones, but actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's by ordeal that Krishna allows us to see that whatever we try, it becomes a failure. Whatever shelter we try that we know and trying this and trying that I usually take shelter of, it doesn't relieve us from the anxiety and the bewilderment and the perplexity of those situations. At best, we just simply put it under the rock or in the back burner, so to speak, like people say, but it remains there, haunting. How do you say, when the ghost hunting us, like a ghost, It remains there. It goes with us until we take shelter until we take shelter of the Supreme, of the lotus feet of the Lord. So, and even further, there's a much important lesson here that I would gonna try to draw or highlight. So, Durvasa Muni is discovering this because he didn't have a perfect conception of the personality of Godhead. His conception was faulty. It had faults. It was not complete. He was very powerful, a powerful yogi, but his conception of the absolute truth was incomplete. He was meditating in the impersonal Brahman. He was taking shelter. So, impersonal means that there is no the personality of Godhead. It's just an energy. So that energy he can find in Lord, just like impersonalists. In general, when they want to achieve something, they use one of the personalities that are the controllers. We have the three controllers in this universe. They're called the guna avatars. So the three deities or controllers of the universe: Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. So either one, for the impersonalists, either one. And at the end, they're just like a stepping stones. The so-called bhakti of the impersonalists is just a front. It doesn't exist. Because bhakti means love, devotion, and that love implies two. It implies someone else. That there's the lover and there's the object of love. So if everything is one, then there's no love. It's just a front. So what the impersonalist sees is that you can use any of these personalities for your purpose. They represent the same thing. They represent that supreme energy. So Durvasa Muni is finding that he realized he made a mistake. He realized he committed a great offense because of the severity of the reaction that came towards him. Because the power of the Sudarshan chakra, he was faced with that. And that powerful demon that he created was destroyed in no time by the Sudarshan chakra. Like a moth flying into a fire. There's no, so like that. And then he sees the Sudarshan chakra coming towards him at the speed of light. The Sudarshan chakra travels, is almost like immediately. It is explained when Lord Krishna released the Sudarshan chakra and cuts the head of Shishupal, it was like, it was like immediate, like that. To the point that almost, the head remained body as it was fully cut. It was so, perfect. Very, very fast. So Durvasa Muni have to use all his might, yogic power, to be able to, be a little ahead. So he goes and takes shelter first of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma declining. I can't do anything. I have no, capacity of power against the Sudarshan Chakra, the weapon of Lord Vishnu. So disappointed, he goes, okay, Lord Shiva. He's definitely greater than Lord Brahma. And Lord Shiva is the father of Durvasa Muni. So Lord Shiva definitely, he's supreme, he can give him protection. But Lord Shiva tells him, just tell him that we can't do anything. We're simply subservient to the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. So then, so then he have to go to Lord Vishnu. When he goes to Lord Vishnu, he's going to discover something even more surprising. That Lord Vishnu basically tells him, although he have reached the supreme shelter, and he comes to beg for the shelter of the supreme personality of Godhead, which is say, okay, he made it. He got the direction. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma sort of like put it in the right path. Now he reached the supreme personality of Godhead. But in some situation, that would have been quite fine. For example, Dhruva Maharaj was directed to worship Lord Vishnu. He got shelter of Lord Vishnu, and he had the full shelter of Lord Vishnu. The Prachetas, they received instruction from Lord Shiva to worship Lord Vishnu. He gave mantra, and they received the mercy of Lord Vishnu. So like that, one may say, well, Durvasa Muni got it. He went to Lord Vishnu, and he will offer, nice prayers to Lord Vishnu. You are the supreme shelter. Please protect me. So one may say, yeah, he got it. It may be right, but what is the problem? And what is the difference? That Durvasa Muni committed a very big blunder in offending a devotee of the Lord. And basically disregarding the transcendental spiritual bureaucracy, so to speak. There's a bureaucracy. There's a transcendental bureaucracy in the whole creation. Krishna makes it like that. And it's common sense. Even in the mundane world, to reach, it's not that you decide, I'm going to see the King of England, the Queen. I'm going to see the Queen of England. And I'm going to the Buckingham Palace, and I'm just going to knock the door where she is, and I'm going in. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have a surprise that, the guys in the puffy, uniform, like that, and the big hat, they're going to, kick you out. They may treat you, as some sort of a crazy person, terrorist or something like that. Because there's a bureaucracy. You have to go to the proper channels to be able to have an audience with this highest person. It doesn't work like that. Similarly, there's a bureaucracy here in the universe too. To be able to have access to the personality of Godhead, one have to go to the proper channels. And Lord Vishnu basically told Durvasa Muni, you want my shelter? Well, I can give you shelter. You have to receive it. You have to go to the proper channels. You have to go through the proper channels, yeah. So what is that proper channel? There's a very nice story in the Padma Purana that Lord Shiva says this famous verse that Prabhupada quotes a lot. Once Parvati Devi, he asked Lord Shiva. She is the faithful wife of Lord Shiva, who worshipped with great devotion and affection Lord Shiva. So she sees, the greatest Lord as Lord Shiva. And she asks, of all kinds of worships, whose worship is the best? And Lord Shiva replied, told her, this very famous verse, Aradhananam sarvesham, Aradhananam sarvesham, Vishnu Aradhanam param. Aradhanam param, the supreme worship, Aradhanam param, is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Aradhananam sarvesham, of all kinds of worships that are there, the param Aradhanam is the worship of Lord Vishnu. And then Parvati became a little disappointed or disheartened, because then she thought to herself, she was mortified, thinking that, but I'm serving Lord Shiva, so I hold a lower position, so this is not the highest. So she was feeling disheartened because her heart was to serve Lord Shiva. So now she thinks, well, maybe, this is lower. So she was disappointed. But then Lord Shiva says, Tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. So this tadiyanam samarchanam, or this aradhanam, Prabhupada quotes, tadiyanam aradhanam, the worship of the tadiyanam, the worship of the devotee, higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu, is the worship of the devotee of Lord Vishnu, or anything that is connected to Lord Vishnu is higher. And then she smiled, thinking, then I am serving the devotee of the Lord. Shiva is devotee. Vaishnavam yata shambhu. So I'm doing the best thing. So she was very happy. That, for example, Prabhupada gives this example. When we worship Tulsi Maharani, the worship of Tulsi Maharani is very, very high because she's very dear to Krishna. So, like that, the worship of the devotees is the highest. It's the highest type of worship. Because through the devotee, one gets Krishna. It's the channels, it's the proper bureaucracy, it's the proper channels to reach Krishna. In another Purana, also Prabhupada quotes this verse very much. Lord Krishna confirmed this. He says, Ye me bhakta jana partha. So he's telling Partha, Arjuna. Ye me bhakta jana partha, ne me bhaktas chate janaha, mat bhaktanam chaye bhaktas, te me bhakta tamamataha. Those who worship me directly, they are not real devotees. Real devotees are those who are devotees of my devotees. And Lord Chaitanya, he teaches that. Marcel liked this verse. What is it? Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudas. This is the definition that Lord Chaitanya gave of himself. When Lord Chaitanya defines himself, he defines himself as this. Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudas. The term anu means insignificant, atomic. So Lord Chaitanya considers himself the Anudasa. Dasa means servant. So he can consider himself the insignificant Anudasa, the insignificant servant of the Dasa of the Dasa. So the insignificant servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, or not even the gopis, those who are at the lotus feet of the gopis. So it's quite retired, you know. So that is the principle. Once Prabhupada quote that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta will, when he goes in during his preaching in South India, he will meet brahmanas, and he always will ask this question: under who you are performing your bhakti? Under whose direction you're performing your bhakti? Who is guiding you? And when brahmanas will say, oh, no, I'm serving Lord Vishnu. So when they imply, when they don't bring, a devotee of the Lord, a spiritual master, and they say, yeah, they're worshiping Lord Vishnu, like that, under Lord Vishnu, then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta won't say anything. He will continue very stern, and then later he will tell his disciples that they're not real devotees. This fake devotion. So that is the principle. The principle that Durvasa Muni is finding, it will find, is that the shelter of all shelter is the lotus feet of the devotee of the Lord. Therefore, the spiritual master, the devotee of the Lord, another name for the devotee of the Lord is Ashraya Vigraha. Is the form by which you should take shelter. Ashraya means shelter. The form of shelter is the form of the spiritual master. So that's the connection we have. And even towards the spiritual master, we cultivate the mood. We cultivate the mood that we're the servant of the devotees. Of the devotees, of the devotees, of the devotees. Like that. And that's the greatest principle. And that's the reality that is hitting Durvasa Muni, that at the end, he will receive shelter. He will, at the end, by the mercy of all these great personalities, and top amongst them, the mercy of the Ambarish Maharaj, he will be fully released and safe. Any comments or questions? How everybody fare the fasting? Is it good? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Glad to see you here.
Yeah.
Back. I have a question. Does this system when you have to be servant of servant of servant, the devotees can get this idea some not clearly, to become weak, for example, your devotee, I follow you, and I take on all the responsibility from my shoulders, like I'm fine, I'm not that big, I'm just servant, so doesn't we have to have some leader character in ourselves, It's very tricky situation when somebody can hear that, oh, so I have to just do what my master says, and that's it.
Passively there.
Yeah, and just that's gonna bring me to spiritual world. I'm fine. I eat prasadam, 16 rounds, few things, and that's it. And I'm fine. I'm relaxed, no stress. I'm already on my way.
Yeah.
People can be devotee can come like that, very oh, I'm already there, I'm fine, I have a shelter, I have an ashram, so
Yeah.
it's very tricky.
It is a symptom of maturity. It's a symptom of maturity that we're meant to be conscious. And we're trying to become Krishna conscious. So the principle is right. The principle of being a simple, humble servant is a right principle. But we can take all these principles and act completely disconnected, unconscious. And that's a sign of immaturity. In the beginning, we're just finding ourselves in the culture of Krishna, of Vaishnava. We're finding ourselves, this new Vaishnava culture, very different than ours. Our material culture is we are at the center. And if I do something for someone, it's a calculated, effort, which is meant to get something for me. What is it for me? In general, that's what motivates always. There is some motivation. So that's what we bring into the table. Now we're being we have to undo that and live into a different paradigm, which is I'm the servant of the servant. I'm just a simple servant. Now, in the beginning stages of going through that transformation, I may, just like the process of Durvasa Muni is a process of maturing, going to a higher realization until you find the final, the highest. And then, you're ready for that. But he obviously was not ready. He was not ready. He couldn't recognize Maharaj Ambarish. He couldn't recognize that he was actually coming to visit this great exalted personality that was, worshipable. Even for him, he could not recognize. So there was a disconnect with the spiritual reality. So in the beginning, that's what happened to most of us. We go into a process of connecting things gradually. So it's expected, it's natural. The thing that you say, if we remain unconscious, we remain stuck that, I feel fine on this one. I don't do anything. I just say, I take the easy road. Well, Prabhu, no, I cannot do because my authority told me. So you have, there's no, what Prabhupada calls independent thinking, independently thoughtful. Prabhupada say that. He wants his disciples, his followers, to be independently thoughtful, which doesn't mean independent, but it means thoughtful. That you have to progress in the capacity of having proper choices, to making choices. You have to progress on that. And that's a matter of maturity. When we come from being a teenager into an adult, that there's a process of learning. The whole process of learning is to prepare you how to make proper choices in life. So you can have, a healthy, productive life. So maturity allows you to think, be thoughtful, and being able to, according to what's the right thing to do, you can do your choices. But the principle of being the servant, it remains true all the way to perfection. It doesn't change because that's who we are. That's Lord Chaitanya's definition of the jiva, the servant of the servant. It's just a matter of connecting that to reality, connecting our consciousness to that reality. If we're not connected, it's just the Prabhupada calls it. It's just like a reflection or a vase. It's not the real thing. Yes, Marcel Pro.
Sometimes when talking to devotees, especially devotees who just come, and they sometimes have a misconception of like when devotees, are humble, and we hear a lot of examples of devotees in prayers saying that they're nothing and they're very low, and sometimes someone misperceives this as just like low self-esteem, and like sometimes they say we have to be confident, and they present their opinion of not maybe being humble, but being more like kind of not necessarily puffed up, but more confident of their own self, and like more kind of not so degrading their own self, or seeing themselves as low. So how can we when this comes up, how can we present how can we present the humility in a way that they could take it and not kind of see it as low self-esteem, but actually like this is what we need to progress. We need that mood to progress.
Yeah, similar. I would say the similar answer to, or in the same theme of Bhakti Dimitri Prabhu question, that, we come and we start to, adopt these qualities that are so foreign to ourselves. Being a servant, being humble, lower than this, we should be more humble than a blade of grass. How do you do that? I mean, really. And then the explanation is that the blade of grass gets trampled and never protests. The blade of grass is like this, and then you come and, and then goes back, never protests, So we're getting all these qualities that is so foreign to our culture, foreign to ourselves. And as sincere devotees, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I am being told, cultivate them. Even if you don't have them, go through the move, practice. So the devotees rightfully do. Yes, Prabhu, I'm so low. Yes, I'm not anything like that. But if it becomes more, when it becomes, it's almost like you take this thing and you try to use this thing, apply them in the same sort of paradigms that you have, which is, I should be the most of something. I should be the best of things like that. So there was this instance that I actually met this devotee, Prabhupada disciple. He was a very funny, very quirky, that's how you say the word, devotee. Sort of fattish, and with glasses, and he was, always, like making sort of like waves. So very pompous. So one time Prabhupada in Vrindavan was, walking. He left the temple after the program, and then he's going towards his room, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of his path, then this devotee was waiting there, and then announces, Jayam Srila Prabhupada, and then, throw himself in dandavats, blocking the path, and then with great pomp say, Prabhupada, I am the most fallen of all, and like that, he's the most fallen, and then Prabhupada say, you're the most of anything. Go and find some useful service to do. So Prabhupada didn't appreciate the whole display, I'm the most fallen, you're the most of anything. So immaturity, we're taking those moods, we're taking those things and trying to, in an artificial manner, try to say, I am this and that. We have to cultivate the mood of humility, but the mood of humility comes with just to be service-oriented, to constantly be open to serve. And to serve means, that I would, if I'm cultivating the mood that I am insignificant, and that's a great, when we take the position of an insignificant servant, I mean, that is a very exalted position from the perspective of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. And if I'm saying, okay, I don't feel that way, I don't feel, insignificant. If I say I'm insignificant, or I may say that, but suppose you tell me, hey, Prabhu, you're just insignificant. I feel, come on, man. you know, why? Why are you telling me that? So in reality, I don't feel insignificant. I want to feel that I have some significance, that I'm contributing, and then I do some consideration and like that. So I know that I don't feel that way, but I want to actually think, how can I be, humble? How can I have this service attitude? So let me serve the devotees. Let me have this service attitude. Let me be open, to always serve. And even when I'm not able to serve, I have a service attitude. It's just this attitude that we have to cultivate. That for the devotees, I am actually ready to stand myself. So I think it's about maturity. It's about, growing comfortable at it, and keep doing it and doing it and doing it in a thoughtful manner, like that. Immaturity means artificial. And we have to be able to see that we don't want to be artificial. We want to connect with the reality. Okay, I'm puffed up. I have these difficulties, but I am going to do the right things. The right thing is that I know that I have that pride becomes control by service mood. So that's what I'm cultivating now. I want to serve the devotees, and I'm doing it with happiness, like that. Anything else, Krishna Arjun?
In Durvasa Muni's case, you narrated his turning to certain personalities to look for shelter. And you'd also brought up Arjuna being in a certain position to find that he was going to, in some sense, have to destroy his shelters. So let's say there's a person's coming to serve in the temple, and the person gets a sense of strength and I guess even comfort because of the shelter that's provided. But the person sees that, oh, this is very nice. They now have learned better how to actually do things for their shelters in a better way. So for instance, one needs to serve. Oh, okay, now I can serve my family members really well. It seems to be more of an emphasis than the purpose for coming to do something in a reciprocal manner for the shelter that's provided within the temple setting. So what would be a kind of educative response if a person is in that situation?
Yeah, I think it's nice that you highlight that part, because more or less that's what happened to Durvasa Muni. Krishna does that. Krishna creates a situation. That's the power of a place like an ashram. We almost force. If we're sincere, Krishna will force us, will force the education. Basically, we come to face that our shelters start to, we go increasingly more anxious and more disturbed. This is a result of our shelters. And where is our shelters come from? From our selfish sort of condition. So as long as we approach, and we approach devotional service like that in the beginning, we approach devotional service with selfishness. And through the process of devotional service, then that selfishness starts to be dismantled gradually. We become more aware that it's for the pleasure of devotees and Krishna. The service attitude again does it because we take ourselves out of the center and put devotees and Krishna at the center. So that practice helps us. But it's true, in the beginning there's this selfish thing, and I tend to do things for myself. The sadhana, for me, it makes me feel better. It's all, it's about me. Sometimes we find ourselves, this doesn't work for me. This worked for me. It's about me. And that gradually becomes dismantled. Then we find that the more we have that attitude, the more miserable we become. And if we don't let go, then basically we're kicking ourselves out, of Krishna's shelter. So what Krishna does, and to the sincere devotee, is that he brings it to that point that you come to understand that, either I take the shelter of Krishna. Mataji, can you sit down, please? Thank you. Yeah. The temple is closed. So then, that's the situation. It becomes dismantled. I was going to mention one thing, and I end with this, that I think it was an important point that I forgot that you remind me. That Durvasa Muni, when he came to see Lord Vishnu, this because of the impersonal, that there is no way for an impersonal person to actually being able to take shelter of Lord Vishnu unless he takes shelter of a devotee of the Lord. So the Bhaktyamana Vijanati, that only through devotion, and those who possesses devotions are the devotee. So it's only through the devotee that one can actually come to the shelter of Lord Vishnu. Otherwise, even to the point of reaching Lord Vishnu, he had no shelter of Lord Vishnu. He was sent back, which is quite, quite an important revelation that, there's that gentleman, the white-haired, that gentleman that have the offer. Yeah. Okay. So we finish here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.